Okay, so we're talking about heavy metal, classical, and pop music. So that's going to be our three types of music. And then we're going to make sure we have somebody who's anxious, somebody who's calm, somebody who's quick to anger, somebody who is kind of hyper. You're not cute. I was going to say, you're not that hyper. You can sit and listen during class. Okay? And somebody who those, I think that's going to be the basis of our people. So anxious, quick to anger, calm, and hyper. So 4 types of people. So we need them to be doing the same thing when they're listening to all the different types of music. We need them to have the same environment around them. We need them to have the same everything. So we would want to do this experiment over a period of several days or weeks or months. I would say all of the above. So like do it for like a couple months, every day, same time every day, for weeks to get an accurate reading. And what I would do is I would have them listen to one type of music for 30 minutes, then have 30 minutes to do stuff that they need to do throughout their day. Then come back, and like when they're listening to the music, they're just like sitting, listening to the music, maybe possibly coloring. I don't know that I would do that because that's another unnecessary variable. But a lot of people, especially people, if we're going to have somebody that's hyper, a lot of people can't just sit and listen to the music. So maybe have something like, or a fidget toy that they can fidget with. Just make sure that it's the same type every time. So they come in, they listen to one type of music for 30 minutes, then they're off doing stuff about their day for 30 minutes. Then they come in and they listen to another type for 30 minutes, and then they're off doing stuff about their day for 30 minutes. And then they come in and they listen to another type for 30 minutes, and then they're off for the rest of the day. But you have to observe them for 30 minutes after. And you keep track of their moods and their behaviors and what they do and how they interact with the things around them. And you see if behaviors change. Now, we're not there yet, but this type of experiment, the data from this type of experiment is going to be subjective data. Do you know what that means?
No.
Okay. So subjective data, if something is subjective, it is based on personal feelings, especially if you were to have them journal. Like let's say you had them come in, sit down, listen to the heavy metal music, and then go about and do stuff in their daily life for 30 minutes. And then you ask them, how did you feel while you were working after listening to that music for 30 minutes? And let's say maybe the hyper person and the quick to anger person, and possibly even the anxious person say, oh, I was more angry. I felt more rushed. I felt this pent up energy that I couldn't get rid of. And then you had them sit down and listen to the classical music for 30 minutes and then go do their stuff for their day and keep track of how they feel. And everybody said, oh, I felt more calm. I was relaxed. The day went really well. Things were going great. That's all opinion based. And it's not something you can really chart. So an experiment where you're looking at how many germs are on different surfaces, you can measure that. So you can swab the surface, then you can put the swab on a petri dish, and then you can watch the petri dish and keep track of how much bacteria and stuff grows from your swab. That is objective data. That's something you can measure, and it's not based on opinion or how we feel. Does that kind of make sense? So if something is subjective, it's based on like our bias. So remember, everybody has a bias about things. Nothing in the world that I ask you about are you unbiased towards. I could ask you, how do you feel about the color blue? And you're going to have an opinion.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the color blue?
Blue's my favorite color.
Okay, so you like blue. But I could go ask somebody else how they feel about the color blue, and they're going to hate it. But I could tell you what nobody's going to say, which is, I don't know, it's blue. What do you want me to say? Everybody's going to have an opinion. Now, it might not be a super strong opinion, like it's your favorite color, so you really like it. Personally, I like blue, okay, but it's not like my favorite. So I don't have a strong pull to it. Either burnt orange or mint green. I'm
How
kind
do
of.
you feel about mint green?
I really like mint green, but you might be like, meh. Mint green's meh. So my point being, everyone has some kind of opinion. Nobody is neutral. And if anybody ever tells you they're neutral in anything, they're lying to you. And generally, when people say that, they're trying to hide some kind of agenda or something. Or they're trying to sway you to think like them, and then they're like, I'm not biased. Happens a lot in the news. The news will pretend that they're unbiased, but they have a way they lean, especially politically. But so unnecessary variables would be what the people are doing. That's why we want to make them come into a central location and all be doing the same thing, so that their mood can't be impacted by what they're doing. But their mood could be impacted by what they're doing after they leave, and you can't really control that. Another unnecessary variable would be the environment. And the time of day. And if you're working with females, hormones. Because females, their hormones fluctuate throughout the month. So female hormones are not consistent. If you pay attention to your own body and you listen to your own signals, you should notice that there are times in the month where you have a lot of energy and you feel like, yeah, I could like conquer the world. Let's do this. And then there should be times in the month where you're like, getting out of bed is hard today and I just want to sleep longer. So that is our hormone levels. So fun fact, almost every single medicine, mental illness, chronic condition have all been studied on men and not women, and it's precisely because of our hormone levels. It's harder to test things on women because you have to take into account their hormone levels. So you would have to track where they are in their hormonal cycle, and you would have to make sure to do the experiment over a period of many more months than you do on men to make sure that you do the experiment at the exact same time on their hormone cycle every month. Otherwise, their hormone cycle is going to introduce an unnecessary variable. Does that make sense? So men are just easier to test things on, which is why most medicines that we take, they haven't been tested on women. They've been tested on men. So we actually don't know how they are going to affect women. Now, when it comes to issues like medicine, I personally think it needs to be tested on women, and it needs to be tested throughout their different hormone cycles. Because they have that hormone fluctuation, you need to know how the medicine's going to impact them based on where their hormone levels are. Men, same hormone levels the entire time. Their hormone levels do not change unless they go through, like, men have their own form of menopause, which is when you get older, your hormone levels change some, but it's not to the extent of women. So, but like when they're like after they've hit puberty until they hit that menopause age, their hormone levels are like this every month. It's the same every month, unless like they get cancer or something, but that's an outlier. So normally same every month. Meanwhile, women go whoo, whoo, whoo. So if you ever feel weird, now you know why. Yay! It's so fun to be a girl. So let's look at the study guide. Hold on, did I? Oh, one other thing I need to talk about, and that is the control. So, where is that definition? There it is. So the control of an experiment is a part of an experiment to which all other parts are compared. So for this hypothetical experiment we're doing on music and it affecting people's moods, a control would be someone who just goes about their day. You don't introduce the music to them. You don't play the different types of music. They just go about their day. In the perfect reality, this experiment would be done isolated from the world. So like they wouldn't have everyday stresses that they had to worry about. They wouldn't have children. They'd all live the exact same way for however long you wanted to run this experiment. So like they wouldn't have other things to worry about. They wouldn't talk to other people. They would just be isolated, and they would do like, instead of doing their daily activities, they would do like, you would give them tasks, and you might give them like, let's say puzzles. So like they listen to the music and then they have to put together a puzzle, and you could see how their temperament with putting together the puzzle changed. So for example, with the heavy metal, maybe they'd get more frustrated more easily. And then with the classical, it would be okay. And then maybe with the pop, it would be really okay. So with the classical, they'd just be kind of laid back and calm, and they'd just be working on the puzzle, and it wouldn't be a big deal. But then with the pop, they might be like, I gotta get this puzzle together, and like have energy. It's just a theory. I don't know. I haven't done this experiment. I'm going based on like how I feel. So when if I play pop or anything with a really like upbeat beat, it's like really bouncy, I get a lot of energy, and it helps me. So I'll play that when I'm like cleaning the house, because it gives me energy and makes me want to clean more and faster. Rock kind of does that for me too, though. Rock doesn't like make me angry, but classical makes me sleepy, and it makes me really calm and mellow. So I tend not to play classical music unless I'm trying to sleep. But so a control person would be a person that you don't play the music for, and you ask them to do the same task. So if we're talking about putting together the puzzle, the control person would have no music and they just have a puzzle, and then you just chart like how they reacted to putting together the puzzle. And you could make it like a really complicated puzzle, or you could make it an impossible puzzle and then see their reactions. That would be frustrating. Can you tell I don't like hard puzzles? So control is an aspect of the experiment or a variable to which all others are compared. So you would compare how everybody else did the puzzle compared to the person that didn't have the music. Does that make sense? Okay, so study guide question 3.7. So they refer to the following story. A consumer laboratory decides to test the effectiveness of different laundry detergents. 5 white shirts are stained with grass stains and put into 5 different washers. In one washer, no laundry detergent is used. In the other 4 washers, 4 different types of laundry detergent are used. 1 type in each washer. Water from the same source is used to fill each washer. The washers are then turned on, and once they are finished, the shirts are examined by eye to see which is the cleanest. So what would be the control for that experiment?
What does control mean of doing an experiment?
So remember, the control is what all other parts of the experiment are compared to. So in our hypothetical experiment, it was the person with no music played before they did the activity. Mm-hmm. So what would be the control of this experiment? What would all other parts of the experiment be compared to?
Different detergents.
So another example. You want to know if cakes fall due to loud noise. So you make an experiment where you bake a cake, and you just bake a cake. You don't do anything to it. That cake that you bake, not doing anything to, would be your control. Then you bake a cake slamming doors all in the house, just slamming them as hard as you can so that the walls shake. So then you would look at that cake, and so like cake and then like fall, like they go poo. So, yeah, so you would look at the cake with the slamming doors and you compare it to the cake that you've just baked, not slamming doors. So the cake that you baked regularly, that's your control. So then you bake another cake and you're running by the oven, just constantly like run. And you're stomping your feet as hard as you can. Okay, then you take that cake out and you compare it to the cake that you baked normally to see if it went ooh. Okay, so our control cake is that cake we didn't do anything to, we just baked it. And now we're comparing all other cakes to that cake. So with this story, what shirts are we comparing? We're trying to figure out which washing detergent removes stains best. So we're comparing we have 4 shirts that all got washed with different detergents. And then we have 1 shirt that got washed with no detergent. So which one are we going to compare the ones that we wash with different detergents to?
The one that got no detergent.
Yeah, so that's the control. The shirt that got no detergent. Okay. Number 4. What is the experimental variable that will be used to learn something from the experiment?
Born studies.
What?
See?
No, honey, I'm on question 3. I can give you the definition of a control. That's fine, but let me put that up here. Control. The variable part of the experiment. To which all others can be compared. Okay, so now number 4, in the experiment with the stains, what is the variable that will be used to learn something?
Oh, I quit. Way past it. Wait, where's 4 and like 5 and like 6? Those don't compare the same.
Oh, that's weird. Why didn't it print out 4, 5, and 6? Okay, well we will touch back on this then next week, and I will make sure 4, 5, and 6 are printed. That's very weird. Okay, so you should be able to answer the study guide or the module questions for module 3. Module questions 3.1 through 3.3. And I said next week, but we will continue this. I will print out those questions tomorrow, so.